So thank you everyone for coming today. My name is Brandon Grant. I'm the marketing director here at QuoteWerks. And today we're going to be demonstrating the integration with QuoteWerks Web and Zoho CRM. So it's a new integration we just added probably about a month or two ago to QuoteWerks Web. So specifically in this webinar, we're going to walk through short PowerPoint presentation, just a couple slides just to kind of go over QuoteWerks Web and the integration itself. Then we'll actually do a live demonstration of the features for QuoteWerks Web and how it works with Zoho. And then we'll take questions at the end of the webinar today as well. And for those of you that have just logged in, we are recording this webinar. So if you missed anything from the beginning, or like I said, if you had someone from your team who couldn't make it today, we'll be posting it on our website either later this week or early next week so that you can get that out to everyone. So just kind of a general overview to QuoteWerks Web. QuoteWerks Web is an add-on to QuoteWerks Desktop. So what this means is that you just need to add QuoteWerks Web to your existing licensing installation. You don't have to repurchase QuoteWerks or anything like that. Just add it to what you already own. It does require the corporate edition and valid maintenance. So if you're on standard or professional, you would need to upgrade to corporate. And then if your maintenance is not up to date, you will need to renew your maintenance as well. But one of the really nice things about QuoteWerks Web is that because it's an add-on to QuoteWerks Desktop, we're going to utilize your existing licensing information. So that means if you already have QuoteValley, if you already have real-time and utilize, we're going to use that information so you're not having to repurchase that or rebuy licenses for those specific integrations. We'll actually use already what you have in your installation. For pricing, it's going to be $10 per user per month, or you can buy the annual subscription for $110, per year per user. So it's very affordable, and like you said, part of that is because it is an add-on to QuoteWerks already. So most of you on here already have QuoteWerks. So you already have QuoteWerks, you can simply just add on the web piece to QuoteWerks Desktop. And then you'll have a couple different options for hosting. We do provide a hosting service through QuoteWerks. And then you also have the option to sign up for your own hosting provider. So if you have like an Amazon Web Services account or Azure or something like that, you can sign up there. If you want to host it locally, if you have like a SQL server already and you just want to put it on there, you can do that. So there's quite a few options for that, and we have instructions for setting it up. So we can certainly help you if you go that route. So as far as product overview, QuoteWerks Web includes the Zoho CRM integration at no additional charge. So it's already going to be included in the QuoteWerks Web integration. And what QuoteWerks Web allows you to do is allows you to do the major features and functionality of QuoteWerks Desktop. So you can create, you can edit, and you can deliver documents to your clients. A lot of the major functionalities in QuoteWerks Web we're constantly adding to QuoteWerks Web. We'll actually be sending out an email blast here probably next week with a lot of the new features that we've added just in 2019. So you can kind of see a list of those. And again, we're going to be using your existing licensing features. So if you have Utilize, if you have QuoteValley, you have real time, you'll be able to use those integrations in QuoteWerks Web. We also use your existing product and service databases. So if you set up your product items in QuoteWerks and you have access to them in QuoteWerks Desktop, you'll have access to them in QuoteWerks Web, so that you can not have to worry about like resetting up product databases for your items and getting everything set. We're actually just going to use the existing information you have. And the same thing goes with like your layouts. That's a big deal, is you have all these layouts that you've customized, you've branded, you want to continue to use those. You'll still be able to use those just like if you're using QuoteWerks Desktop. So try to keep things as smooth as possible when using QuoteWerks Web. If you do have questions, we have a ton of resources about QuoteWerks Web on the website now. We have a dedicated web page so you can see information. We have some demo videos available up there, and then also the help file instructions are obviously in the help file. So it's a great place to go for any information or any questions you have. But as always, if you have questions, feel free to give us a call or send us an email. We're happy to answer any of those questions for you. Definitely make sure you are following us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn. We post a lot of new features there, a lot of kind of where we're going to be or what's going on. So just make sure you're following us on those social media sites so you can kind of stay in tune with what we're doing. For those of you that are looking for training, I know some of you had sent messages already about this. If you are looking for some serious QuoteWerks training, we will be having our annual user summit in March of 2020. So there is a discounted rate available right now if you sign up before, I want to say October 1st, it's either October 1st or October 15th. But if you go to events.quoteworks.com, you can sign up and, like I said, take advantage of that discounted rate. All right, so let's go ahead and move forward with the demo. So we're going to switch over to our browser here. So we'll start by logging in, and we're just going to kind of go through the typical workflow of using QuoteWerks Web. So the first thing is to get actually to the QuoteWerks Web login, you'll want to put in your web browser, na.quoteworks.com, and that'll bring you to the QuoteWerks Web login screen. Now, the QuoteWerks Web login screen will ask you for your tenant account number, your username, and your password. Your tenant account number is just your tenant account number with QuoteWerks. So for mine, we'll just use my personal one here. And then you're just going to add your QuoteWerks username, so whatever you use to log into QuoteWerks, and your QuoteWerks password. So any of you that are using QuoteValet, and if you ever use QuoteValet Insight, this is going to be the same username and password for that and the same tenant account number. So it's all tied together so that you only have that one login information. And then when you're ready, simply click Login, and this will log you into QuoteWerks Web. So when you get into QuoteWerks Web, you're going to notice a couple of things. It's going to be a little different from what you typically see when you log into QuoteWerks Desktop. The first one is going to be kind of where do you start. So you have two options essentially. Is you can start with a new blank document, or you can open an existing document. If you choose to open an existing document, you'll have access to all the documents that you've ever created in QuoteWerks. Whether they were created in QuoteWerks Web or QuoteWerks Desktop, you'll have access to them in QuoteWerks Web. QuoteWerks Desktop and QuoteWerks Web actually uses the same database, so they share the documents. So if you create a document in QuoteWerks Web, that document, and you save it, that document is immediately available in QuoteWerks Desktop to another user. So they share the database, so you can kind of switch between the two systems if you need to as seamlessly as you want. For our example, I'm just going to go ahead and start with a new document. You will see if you click on the drop-down, you can actually load a template. So for those of you that are using templates in QuoteWerks, you can start with the template. But for our example, I'm just going to start with a new quote instead. And then I want to give my quote a name. So we'll just call this our Zoho example. And then click Create. And that'll create our new document in QuoteWerks Web. You'll also see, kind of as we go through things today, you'll see confirmation messages in the bottom right corner. So as you add products, select contacts, save the document, you'll see little notifications just confirming that those actions have actually taken place in QuoteWerks Web. So we're going to start on the left-hand side here first. You'll see what I refer to as the navigation panel. Navigation panel does exactly that. It allows you to navigate around QuoteWerks Web very quickly. The workbook here should look pretty familiar for most of you that have QuoteWerks. You have access to your QuoteWerks tabs and some of your toolbar shortcuts, as well as some of the menu options. Documents is where you can search for your previously created documents. So this will let you search by a lot of the same search parameters that we have in QuoteWerks Desktop. So document name, document number, sales rep, company, and so on. And you can even specify by header and item options here. Products is where your products and services in QuoteWerks are stored. So this is where you'll be able to search for your items, pull them into QuoteWerks. Contacts is where you can search for your contacts to pull them into QuoteWerks. So in this example, we'll be pulling our contact from Zoho. And then QuoteValet Insight, for those of you that have QuoteValet, you'll have access to QuoteValet Insight, so you can actually log into QuoteValet Insight, view like the reporting information on those documents that have been uploaded to QuoteValet. So let's go back to our workbook here. So just like in QuoteWerks Desktop, we always want to start with pulling our contact in first. So we're going to click on our Sold to Ship to tab here, and you'll see this will look very familiar. But when we click on our magnifying glass to do the search, you'll actually see it'll bring us to our contacts navigation panel here. And then on my Zoho lookup, I can choose to search by account name, account phone, the contact name, contact last name. However I want to search for the contact, I can do that. So if I wanted to search for, we'll just say Aspire, since that's our company name. This will go out to Zoho, and it'll search for any account names that match, and it found one. And then you simply need to highlight by selecting that contact or that account. And then down at the bottom left, you'll see you have a sold to, shipped to, billed to, and all. So just like in QuoteWerks Desktop, where you have the option to pull that contact into your specific fields on the sold to, shipped to tab, you can do that here as well. So if I click on all, that'll actually populate this contact. And you'll see here it's a contact was added to the current document. And that'll pull that contact across all 3 fields. So if I go to my workbook tab here, and we're on the sold to, shipped to tab, you'll see my contact has been pulled into QuoteWerks Web and populated all the contact information that was in Zoho. So easy enough. Now we can go start building our document. So if we click back over to the Document Items tab, QuoteWerks Web does support section headers. So if you're using section headers, this is a great time to add these before we start adding items to the document. For those of you not familiar, section headers are a great way to organize your document. So this is a great way where if you right-click on the Document Items window like I did just here, this will bring up the Edit menu, and this Edit menu allows me to insert section headers. And section headers just allow me to create kind of like different sections in my document. So for example, if I wanted to do one for products, I can do one for products. And you'll see it's grayed and highlighted so I can see that. And then we'll do another one here. We'll do one for services. And we'll do one more for, say, optional items. And hit OK. And then we have this extra line in here, so we're just going to go ahead and remove that. So let's delete that line. All right, so we have our section headers here. So we're ready to go ahead and start adding items to the document. So I'm going to show you how to pull items. We can click on our products shortcut in the toolbar menu here, or you can click on your products navigation panel, either one. You'll have 2 options when you get to the products list. You'll have your product database list, which would include any databases that you've set up in QuoteWerks. If you're using ConnectWise or Autotask or Salesforce as your CRM, then you'll also see those databases here as well. And then if any of you are set up with real-time and Eatalize, you'll also have the option to search and Eatalize for items as well. So we're going to start in Eatalize just because the interface is a little different, so I wanted to show a couple of those features, and then we'll go and pull some items just from a product database that we typically would use. So our Eatalize search is going to look pretty familiar. So in our search for field, we can basically type in whatever we want. So if we type in something generic like our trip light switch here, and we'll just limit to my distributors and hit search, this will go out and find any items that match that description. If I wanted to put in more information, maybe a part number instead, I could do that, and that'll reduce my results. But what I can do is I can look at the filtering section down here and actually filter on these items. So for example, if I said, well, I know I'm looking for a trip light switch, so I only want to see switch boxes, none of the accessory items for it, I can click on the switch boxes option, and it'll limit my results to 131. And then if I wanted to drill down even further, you can use a list of these features and attributes. So if you know you're looking for a specific like product type or networking type or product family, you can click on one of those options. And then if you click on one of the product families, it will reduce your results even further. So in this example, reduced it down to 10 items. Then you'll see a list of your items here, and you can get pricing and availability from these items just by clicking on the item. And this will actually go out using your credentials. So just like if you were in QuoteWerks Desktop, get your pricing availability on these items so we can see which one has the best cost. So in this example, Tech Data has my best cost because it's highlighted in green. And then if I mouse over the availability, I can see that I can purchase it directly from them. And they have 114 available for essentially drop shipping. So I can order that from the vendor directly. If I wanted to check availability on any of these other vendors, I can do that just by mousing over that. So if we wanted to add this item, we would just choose Select Add, and that'll add that item to our document, and you'll see a little confirmation message in the bottom right corner. You also see if you have access to your accessories, the similar items, and the upsell items tabs. So if you wanted to add those optional items or those accessory items to the document, you're able to do that very quickly and easily here. Now, we have a couple other options that are available here. you'll see there's also a quick add button. The quick add will allow you to add this item directly to your document without looking up the pricing and availability from real time. So if you know you want to quote that item, maybe you know what you're going to sell it for and you don't even need to look up the cost or the pricing, you can just do the quick add and that'll add it to the document. And that way you get the product picture, the customer friendly description, all the information about that particular item, but it won't actually go through the whole real-time pricing and availability option for you. So you can kind of skip that step if you'd like. You'll also see there's a workspace option. So if I click workspace and I'll just select these first three here, you'll see those buttons then become highlighted. And then if we scroll over to the left here, we'll see that we have a workspace tab. When you go to that workspace tab, you'll actually see those items. So the workspace tab is a great place to save items on a temporary basis. So for example, if you have items that are going to be only available for maybe this particular quote, or maybe you're doing multiple quotes, maybe you're batching your quotes, you're doing 5 or 6 quotes at a time, and you're selling a lot of the same items, you can actually save these items in your workspace tab, and they'll be available for you while you're in this session. So basically anything you add to the workspace will be saved on your workspace tab until you log out of QuoteWerks Web. So it's a great place to kind of store items, especially if you're doing a lot of the same quotes. Instead of having to research those items each time, you can just pull the items directly from the workspace. And it works just like it does on the search window, where you would click on the item and it'll go out and get your pricing availability for those items. You'll have access to all the tabs. So it works the same way, it just reduces the amount of searching time that you have to spend looking for those items. If we go back to the search here, we'll also see we have a comparison option. So if we click on compare on those 3 items, we'll go to our compare tab. So this should look familiar for those of you that are using Edelweiss, that you have access to the comparison window where you can compare multiple items against each other. You can see the differences in the items, and you can even get your pricing and availability across each item for each vendor. So it makes it really easy and really clear to see the differences between the items and the pricing availability for the items, and also which items might be the best fit for your customer. You'll also be able to choose whether or not you want to highlight the product differences. So in this example here, if I wanted to choose to uncheck this checkbox, then my product differences would no longer be yellow like they are in the document. You'll also be able to remove any items that maybe don't have any items in stock. You can remove single items, you can remove all items. So if you wanted to start over, you can do it. So a lot of flexibility with using the comparison window here, but you can kind of see the breakdown of all those items and see which item is going to be best for you. And then when you're ready to add it to the document, you'll see there's the select option on your different vendors, so you can quickly add it to the document. And then if we go back to the search, you'll see there's 2 more buttons. There's a favorites and a remove option. So the favorites is going to save the item in your favorites tab. Favorites tab is where you can store items permanently. So any item that you sell, maybe you sell it pretty often, like every day or every week or every month, you can save it in your favorites tab. So the biggest difference between the favorites and the workspace tab is that the workspace is just a temporary holding place for those items. So while you're quoting them, you can save them in there, and then when you're done and you log out of QuoteWerks Web, they'll be removed from your workspace tab. For the favorites is going to save it permanently for you, so you'll always have access to the favorites tab there. And then the last option, if we go back to our search, the remove from this view, this will actually remove the item from this view. So if you don't sell an item, there's an item that's showing up in your search, you can actually hide it from your view so it no longer appears in your search while you're logged into QuoteWerks Web. All right, so let's go over to our product database list here now. And we'll search one of our items here. You'll see when you select one of your databases, you'll have the option to search by the item's description, manufacturer part number, manufacturer internal part number, vendor part number, keyword. However you want to look for the item, you'll be able to do so here. If you click show all, that'll show you a list of all the items that you've set up in QuoteWerks. And then you can just go through and start selecting items. If you want to select more than one item, simply hold Control on your keyboard and just go through and select those options. And then when you're ready, click on the Add Selected Button, Products button, and this will bring up your Add Item Assistant. So we brought over the Add Item Assistant from QuoteWerks Desktop. so that you're able to change like the item's quantity. So if I want to say, okay, we're going to sell 3 of these, and then if we want to change our price modifier, maybe we're going to mark it up, 30% instead. And then you'll have access to price history as well. So if you want to check the price history, if you've ever sold this item to this customer, which we have, we can actually see what we sold it to them for, the modifier that we used, the date, all that information is available for you. Same thing, price history for this item. This is where you can see what the item's price history has been. And then last part is going to be the sections. This is going to be really useful because this is where you can tell QuoteWerks exactly where you want this item to appear. So we want this item to show up on our products, so we'll select products and click add. And then you'll just kind of follow the same process for the rest of the items. So we'll say we need 2 of these, or we'll just say 3. Again, that's going to be a product item. Click add. We'll take 2 of these, and we'll include our optional item here, and we'll say it's in a service. Click add, and then say other product item. Actually, this would be a service item. Add and optional. And we've added our items. So very, very easily and quickly, you can go through and add those items to your document. All right, so let's go and switch back to our workbook. So we'll see we have our items on our document here. Now, if you want to organize your document, you can do so by dragging and dropping and moving things around. So for example, if I wanted my products section header to be first, I can move it there. Maybe move my optional items down here. Maybe I want to move, let's say, these 2 items here. We can do that, and we can just simply kind of drag and drop. And so you can kind of quickly maneuver everything around your document and choose the order in which things are going to appear on the document. If you want to delete something or remove something, you can always do that. So you can, if I wanted to highlight this item, so you have a lot of options. We can convert it to a group. A lot of the same functionality that's available in QuoteWerks Desktop is here. So we can just say delete line. So we'll remove that one. And then there's a couple other new features that are available in QuoteWerks Web compared to QuoteWerks Desktop. One of them being able to adjust the item's description kind of on the fly. So for instance, if I double click in here, this will open up that description window like you would typically see in QuoteWerks Desktop. You also have the option to toggle the description panel, which is available here in your grid toolbar. And when you click on that, that'll actually show you the item's description for this specific item down here. So if I wanted to copy and paste the description from another location, or maybe just make some minor changes to it, I can do that. And then one of the really cool things is that as I switch between my different items, I can make any of those changes. So here, this is a little longer one, so we'll just delete some of this description here. So it makes it really easy to kind of toggle between your item's descriptions, copy and paste, or make changes to the descriptions to just make things a little easier. And you can always just turn it off just by clicking on the toggle description panel. Now, kind of thinking along the same lines, we also have the option to kind of view the columns and make adjustments to those columns. So if I click on the toggle item panel here, that'll show all the columns that I have available on my document items window here. And if I uncheck this option, I'll actually put them in the same order as I have them on here. So basically top down instead of left to right. And this makes it really easy to make changes to the document as well. So for example, if I wanted to maybe adjust the item's price, so I just want to sell it for $800, I can do that. If we wanted to change the quantity, we could do that. You can also do a search. So if you're looking for a specific column, maybe you are looking for the unit price, you can type in unit price, and only the columns that share that name will show up. So it makes it really easy if you're looking for a specific column to update. You can do that. So if we want to say like custom text, we can do that. So you can see a list of those, or if you have, description, you can do that as well. So there's a lot of things you can do with that, and just makes it a lot easier to make changes and adjust kind of on the fly. And again, same thing is as you click through items, you can go through and make those changes to those various items. And then when you're done, you simply either close it, or you can just toggle the item panel off also. All right, so made the changes to our document. We're able to adjust anything as we needed. If you wanted to group things, you can do that. Maybe for your optional items, we want to go ahead and mark these as optional for Quote Valet. We can do that, so we can right-click, choose Edit Line Attributes, say yes, these are optional, and yes, they're selected and they're included in our quote. So we can mark that item as optional, and we made our changes, so we're ready to send this to the customer. So the next step is going to be to save it, obviously. And this is where we're going to start pushing that information into Zoho CRM. So we'll have our document name, our status, and our project number set, and then our Zoho integration here. So we're going to create that new link document, so like the copy of the quote into Zoho, and then we can either create a new deal or attach to an existing one. So we'll click OK, and that'll save our document first, and then it'll prompt us to create this new Zoho deal. And you'll see you have the option. It'll default to creating a new deal, but if you already had the deal created and you wanted to link to it, you could actually come in here and link to that deal instead. The only thing to keep in mind is that if you do link to an existing deal, basically QuoteWerks will take ownership of that deal. And what that means is that we're actually going to overwrite whatever's in that deal with the information we set here. So just keep that in mind if you do that. For our example, we'll just go ahead and create a new one. This is going to be the name of our deal, so we're just going to keep it as the name of our document, which is Zoho example. And then your account and contact information will already be set because it's who you're logged in as QuoteWerks, who the owner is, and then any steps. So maybe we'll say it's a needs analysis, and we'll put our probability at 60%. And if you want to put any notes in there about the deal or any description or anything like that, we can add that in here as well. And then we'll click OK. And that'll save our deal information. And then if we click over to Zoho, we go to our deals, we'll see our new deal that we just created. Oh, let me refresh. So there's our Zoho example document that we just created. Let's go and click on that. And you'll see the information that we had in our QuoteWerks web document has flowed over to Zoho. So we have our Zoho example, deal owner, stage, all that information. And we scroll down, we can see the amount, expected closing date, the stage we're on, the probability, all that information is in here. Stage history, so anytime we update it or change it, that'll be saved in here as well. So if we went back into QuoteWerks Web, we send it to the customer, maybe they asked us to do something, all you have to do is click on save, and that will update it with any changes. So anytime you make a change to this document, maybe the customer asks you to remove an item or add an item or something like that, all you have to do is hit save, and then that will update that deal in Zoho. All right, so we're ready to send this to the customer. Everything looks good. We're going to click on our deliver window here. So like I said, QuoteWerks Web is going to utilize your existing documents that you've set up in QuoteWerks. So if you have a cover page set as a default or just a cover page in general that you want to use, you'll see a list of those options here, and you can make your selection. If you have any layouts, or rather the layouts that you want to use, and if you have any set as a default, you can make that selection here as well, and choose that option. And then if you have any additional that you want to include, maybe you have your solution summary page or something else you'd like to include. Any of your literature files you'll be able to include as well. So if I wanted to select my support agreement, we can add that there. If you have any spec sheets or anything like that, you can choose to include those. And then if you want to maneuver anything, any of these around, these are drag and drop. So if I want to say, oh, you know, I actually want to put this one here first, I can move that around, and it'll let you update the position of those particular documents. So if I wanted to go through and say, oh, okay, actually, you know, I do want my cover page here first, I'll put my cover page there. Once you're ready to send it, you can go ahead and preview it just to make sure everything looks good. I will tell you that because we do create a PDF for the preview, you'll need to check your pop-up settings in your browser. So if you're previewing and nothing's popping up like this, you most likely have it disabled. So just allow it for QuoteWerks Web to allow pop-ups, and that'll let you view it. But you'll see here, this would look just like if I created on QuoteWerks desktop. We have our cover page information, some information about our company. Then we get into some of the line item information, some of the optional information, pricing, sign-off page, solution summary, breaks everything down, and then support agreement. So everything looks good. So we'll go back into QuoteWerks. So you have the option of obviously emailing it. If you just want to send out the PDF, you can do that. For our example, we're going to go ahead and just upload this to Quote Valley. So we'll click on the Upload to Quote Valley option. Again, you could view the PDF file if you hadn't viewed it yet. We can select our customer-facing page, and we'll go ahead and upload it to Quote Valley. And then once we've finished uploading it, we can actually preview this on Quote Valley. And we can just make sure everything looks good. So we have our products, our services, and our optional items. There's our optional items that we selected. And there's a signature page for the customer. And then when they're ready, choose Send Email. This will open up this Send Email window. So it'll populate the two. If you want to add others' email addresses in here, you can do that. Just type in their email addresses. You'll be able to add that. If you want to add CCs or BCCs, you can do that. This also supports the email templates. So if you've set up your email templates in QuoteWerks Desktop, you'll have access to those. We're going to use the defaults, or if you click on the drop-down, you can select from one of your email templates that are available in QuoteWerks Desktop. If you need to include additional files, maybe there's some other documentation that you want to include kind of separate from the quote, you can drag and drop to attach those files here. And then you can adjust any of the text in here if you'd like. And then when you're ready, you simply click Send, and that'll send out to the customer. Don't have email set up on this machine, so I'm not going to actually hit Send, but I think we are all familiar with how email works. So you send it out to the customer. Customer looks at everything. Everything looks good. Maybe they change an option. So let's say we'll go in here as a customer and we'll just say we only want the quarterly check and we don't want that other option. So we'll update it, go back into QuoteWerks Web. You can go to that Quote Valley tab in QuoteWerks Web. And just like in desktop, you'll be able to see if any changes have been applied. So we'll actually see customer was uploaded by this QuoteWerks user, and then the customer changed an option. And then once they accept, you'll be able to see the acceptance information here as well. You also have access to the sales rep facing page. So if they post a comment and you want to reply, you can do that. Same thing if you need to resend that email notification to them, you can do that as well. So as a customer, we'll say, okay, everything looks good. Let's go ahead and sign off on this. And we'll just sign off. Everything looks good. So we'll get our notification that the customer has accepted the quote. And when you receive that notification, if you open up that document in QuoteWerks Web, or if we just refresh the activity here, that'll let us know that the document has been accepted, the customer has signed off on it. And then it'll want us to convert this quote to an order. So again, if you're kind of new to QuoteWerks, converting a quote to an order is how we close a quote in QuoteWerks. It's also what's going to trigger to update the integration with Zoho. So because this document has been accepted and the customer has accepted the quote, we're going to convert this quote to an order, and now you're going to be prompted to close this Zoho deal as one. So you'll see here it'll actually set the stage for you as one, sets the probability to 100, and then we'll hit OK, and then everything will be updated in the deal itself. So because one of the optional items was deselected, that won't be included in the revenue total for the Zoho deal. And then once that's done, you can have access to your other documents in Quote Valley. So if I wanted to X out of here, you can actually click on the X here, and that'll let you close out of a particular QuoteWerks document. Like I said, if you go into your open window here, you can actually search for a specific document that you wanted to open or start from. So for example, let me just do a search here, and we'll actually let's do just need a couple of them. And we'll open, just cancel out of there. And the reason I wanted to show the two documents is because when you have multiple documents opening QuoteWerks Web, you can actually flip between them. You'll see at the bottom, so I have this new customer onboarding quote open, but I can click on the quote for renewal, and that'll show me this document instead. So it makes it really easy to kind of flip back and forth. You can have up to 5 documents open at a time in QuoteWerks Web. So So you can kind of copy and paste between the different documents. That's supported. You'll be able to cut and paste if you want to between documents. So it makes it really easy to kind of maneuver between your documents as you're making changes in there. All right. I think that's everything I wanted to cover for today. I see we do have some questions. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording and answer any questions you guys have. If you do have any other questions, definitely stick around. Feel free to use the questions box and start typing those in there. If you don't have any questions, thanks everyone for your time today and look forward to speaking with you.